To put everything short, so you could get a quick opinion, I think Shadow Generations is an amazing game. The only negative thoughts I have on it are just tiny complaints. It's not exactly for the new people getting into Sonic, that's what Sonic Generations is for. It's for those that enjoyed Generations and Frontiers' gameplay, and wanted more. To start off with what everyone expects with Sonic game, the music is amazing as always. Remix songs from Shadow stages. As it was in Generations, it brought old songs into a new light, reimagining them for the better and an even more fast feel. Say the Biolizard encounter in this. The song in my opinion is okay normally, but this remix version just gives it some more oomph. Cool little thing in the music department as well. The hub world, if you didn't notice, is an orchestral version of All Hail Shadow. It's a cool and tiny touch. It can also be found with the hub challenges and challenge stages, but in a techno style. I don't need to say much on the music because you could just go listen to it. Some people have already ripped it and put it onto YouTube, so go on ahead. So, without further ado, let's get into that gameplay. I absolutely adore the stage design. Stages are long and keep you in the zone, and are 3D throughout, meaning no 2D segments. Sadly though, there are 2D stages, and before you say anything about that, they're short and sweet. Completing the 2D stages only takes 3 tries at most, and they're only 1 to 3 minutes compared to the 3 to 6 minute 3D stages. I think it wasn't planned to have 2D stages, but time constraints hit them and, well, they're here to stay. The stages I will talk about directly in just a second, but first I want to talk about the controls and abilities you're given in this title. To start simple, like in Frontiers, the jump and homing attack are on different buttons to allow more tight platforming. A good change, but from being used to same button syndrome, it takes a minute to get into this flow. Besides that, the homing attack has 2 different interactions, with enemies and with objects. With objects is the usual style of the homing attack since the very beginning of it. As for enemies, you shift over to them, just warp straight to them. This is used for certain platforming puzzles, like say an enemy is behind a damaging barrier. Well, it's an enemy. As long as you homing attack it, you'll shift beyond the barrier, attacking the enemy directly. It's used in a couple of stages, you'll get used to seeing it. Boost gameplay this time around, I say was taken back before Frontiers, where it actually damaged enemies. My belief is that it shouldn't do this, and just put a bit more thought into your A to B with enemies in the way. It's an extra input, but that's just how it is in this game. And with that, we can actually get to the special abilities of Shadow Generations. So, starting off, you get access to Chaos Control Minute 1. Think of Star Platinum style time stop for 5 seconds, because that's exactly what it is. When activated, stops the timer and enemies, even certain moving objects like those zip lines that shoot down when you defeat a couple enemies. So, you gotta plan ahead whenever you use it rather than just spamming it willy-nilly. It's used for finding alternate paths. It's got 2 different ways that it does this on a regular basis. There are rockets in stages that damage the player even if they're boosting. But when you activate Chaos Control, they will stop and can be used as platforms so you can get to higher ground or just run along across them like a bridge. The other way is that there will be these green auras that pretty much just a light speed dash whenever you activate Chaos Control when clipping into one. After activation, instead of just a timer to cool it down, it actually has to cool down by defeating enemies or breaking open capsules that just fully recharge the ability. So, it'll differ between rings for boost and enemies for your Chaos Control. I really love the concept of that. Sadly, it's not needed enough. Most S ranks don't need you to ever use it, really. In stages, it's only used for the QTEs or scripted events, really. The reason why I said most there is for later, but yet again, S ranks in the normal stages are fairly easy to get as long as you're boosting whenever you got it. This can also just be from my experience with Sonic, but I don't know. The next ability unlocked is Doom Spear, a very simple ability with a very little skill needed to use. Holding Y, I play on controller for Sonic, shoots up to 5 projectiles at a time to stun certain enemies so that they don't damage you when you home attack them. Also used for unlocking gates, destroying objects for challenges, and a couple other QTEs. Shadow Generations really likes QTEs. You'll see them every other stage and every single boss. The other abilities, on the other hand, are morphs, changing you to fit the environment, like with a surfing morph, which activates when you interact with water. It's interesting, but the most it's ever used is for bosses and exploring the hub area. Oh yeah, there's a fully 3D hub, and it's honestly really fun to explore. I'm happy they didn't just throw away the concept of an open area to explore in Frontiers. I mean, before that it was in the adventure titles, but still, they brought it back and experimented with it a little bit. And they did it much better. There's not many pop-ins like there was in Frontiers. Good lord, there's not enough. Not as many pop-ins as them. But I do want to get in depth into the bosses. Not like a crazy amount, but I want to talk about specifically this surfing morph, because it's used a lot. I mean, you use it the entirety of the second boss, which is Metal Overlord. Yeah, he's fun. While you jam out alongside a remix version of Crush 40's What I Made Of, you only have 2 means of actually damaging Metal. While surfing, you can dodge. You dodge into rubble in the water to deal damage. And the other way is through the ramps you'll find across this segment. It's not a fully explorable area, it's just on a rail. That's the best way to put it. It's an on a rail segment for a boss fight. And it's quite fun to really make sure you're hitting every single thing in rubble, make sure you're going onto the ramp so you can attack Metal directly. And for the S rank, you really need to get good at doing this. It's actually quite challenging even on the normal difficulty. The hard difficulty just makes it less room for error. There is a certain point in the fight that you must get to that second phase where it becomes a whirlpool, and it's by the end of the Rockets segments. You'll know what I'm talking about. But once you defeat him, more stages, more stuff, and a new form, which is the squid form. It's called Doom form, but it's funnier to just call it squid form for me. There will now be purple orbs around the hub and stages and whatnot that if you home attack, you'll turn into the squid form. The most important movement is with those orbs. Sure, you can go up walls and on the ceiling whenever there's that purple goop everywhere, but it's really the orbs that are going to be the major thing. You can use them to swing around when you hold the button, and if you hold and let go when you're right beneath it, you will shoot straight up. That last one there, going straight up, the game wants you to be doing it a lot, so get good with messing with those orbs. Another thing, I must admit, this form is super duper duper jank, and it'll be the reason why you will screw up hard hub challenges, or some of the hub challenges that need you to use this ability. It's just awkward. Just mess with it as much as you can until you have a good gist of how to use it. You'll thank yourself later. The squid form is used for the third boss, which is Mephiles. He's the easiest boss in the game, by the way. In the very beginning of the fight, you can actually b-hop in the purple goop that he spawns. Just get the rhythm right, and you'll just be getting a bunch of speed, so it'll be easy to dodge every single attack. You can start the b-hop easily with a boost, but either way, you could do it with and without that speed. Once you unlock hard versions of the fight, it's also pretty easy. It's just you have to fight him hitless, and that's the only difference. So, good luck to you for that. After defeating Mephiles, you go on to the next stage. And that is Sonic Frontiers, surprisingly. It's the second to last island, I forget what it was called, where you fight the knight. It's a good stage. I liked it. It was pretty fun to go through. It uses a bit more of the squid form as well, so have fun! But after this, you get to the final form, which is literally the super form of this game. Although you're not getting all the emeralds, Sonic is the one who has all the emeralds, because Shadow Generations and Sonic Generations happen simultaneously. You'll know about it throughout the story. You need 50 rings to activate the ability, and you'll slowly lose rings as it is activated. This form is the Doom Wings, and it's pretty fun. It's a really interesting and fun ability. Sure, it's just a super form. You're invulnerable, your boost regens over time while you're on the ground. But if you jump up and you boost in the midair, you will just boost straight forward. Like, just going straight forward. It's such a game changer that stages split between with and without those wings. Very noticeable for these next two stages that I'll talk about. But I haven't looked at the previous ones on how different it is for those, but it's like having Supersonic in those stages, really. The next two stages, or, well, the final two stages, really want you to have all the fun messing with the wings in them. Just going A to B, really. It's super easy and straightforward. But when you do the stages again without the wings, it's a completely different stage. It's a true challenge. Because you're in Black Doom's area, you can't use Chaos Control to get an easier S rank. You have to really be good with the base kit, abilities, and movement of most Boost Sonic games. You just gotta be good in order to get that S rank. Find those tiny time skips. And honestly, good luck to you. It's a very fun challenge on these stages. But now, for the final boss. He is not too big of a challenge, but he's got a little bit of squid form, he's got a little bit of surfing, and the final segment with All Hail Shadow going hard. The only difficulty you'll ever have is, again, with the S rank as it is for these bosses, and just getting the hitless achievement. There is a weird thing when he's in Neo Devil Doom form. Just dodge. It's an awkward attack, but you'll understand it after a couple tries. There is an annoyance with this fight when you're finishing it with a like 2 or 3. It's more like a 2-minute long cutscene. After like a 3-minute fight, I just want to see if I got S rank or not. Like, just allow me to skip that. It's another tiny complaint, but it's pretty noticeable when you're trying to get these. And after defeating the boss, that's it. It's really just doing the bonus content that you want to, and Doom mode. It sounds threatening, but it's not. It's literally just new, harder challenge stages, the hub challenges, I'll talk about that in just a second, and just the hard mode of bosses. The boss hard modes, they're very fun. They're definitely a challenge. Those challenge stages are pretty difficult, and those hard hub challenges, oh my goodness, they take a couple tries. I must say, it is a very fun game for completionists on the stage stuff. For the hub, not so much. So in the hub, as I've been saying a couple times, is that there are hub challenges. There'll be these little like idle thingies that they're just floating in the air. You touch them, and you'll be given a challenge. Go get a bunch of rings. Go break a bunch of objects. Go over here and over there, grabbing clocks. They're fairly simple, but there's two different ways in completing them. There will be the normal completion where you have less than 10 seconds to spare. And then there's the great completion for getting 10 or more seconds left when completing it. I did this for all of them. It is a very interesting challenge to do. And I do recommend it for anybody who's willing to give it a try. And then after that is the chests and rocket parts. In the Nova stages and the challenge stages, there are 3 tokens collected in each. There's only like 3 of them that are difficult to find, but you'll find them eventually. I didn't need a tutorial for them, or I didn't need a guide video for them. The tokens are going to be 3 different categories: music, artwork, and lore. And they'll correspond to their correct chests that you'll find in the world. There are 96 total chests in the world. If you do stumble across one in your travels, but you didn't have the tokens for them, your map will show it in a red and yellow color scheme. And if you already have opened it, it'll be white and gray. Thing is, you have to have passed by them. If you didn't, and you're like me and you found 95 of the 96, it's a bit annoying. It's a bit of a chore to just run around places. There's a very good Steam guide, by the way, for the chests. Go look at that one. It helped me a lot just finding this single chest. It's a lot better than the one for the rocket ship parts. So that chest thing is not the worst thing. It's the rocket parts. Orbot and Cubebot, they're lazy, but they want to make a rocket to get out of here. There's 80 total. Some are near your chest, some are just in their own weird spot, some are just behind a wall, and that's it. If you have only 3 though, or even 20, they could be a pain trying to find some of them. There is a really bad video for it, so I'd say wait out for the ship parts. Do your best. Wait until there's a better video for ship parts. Please. But the only thing I can think of for how they can fix these issues, because these are really the only issues I have, besides the tiny cutscenes that are in stages that just add a little bit too much time into my gameplay. But there should be like a compass or sensor that is like default turned off in settings that you can turn on, and it'll just go, hey dumbass, there's a thing over here. And for the chests, they could just get marked on your map. Like every single one of them gets marked on your map as soon as you get every single token, or I don't know, just defeating the final boss. Either way, at least something rather than absolutely nothing but guides. But after doing that, it's just playing for fun, repeat playthroughs, and doing stages without Doom Wings. There's a couple of achievements that haven't activated for me, even though I have 100% like S ranks everywhere. Like, it's weird. But that's really it. I'll just put everything together in this like final little paragraph. It's a very, very fun experience. It lasted me 15 hours to absolutely complete everything. For the average person who doesn't care about ranks or don't care about collecting anything, it's going to be less than 5 hours, honestly. It's barely going to be hitting 2 or 3. It does boost formula well. The only issues about the boost in this game are the issues of boost in general, really. You're turning your brain off a bit too much, and you're just getting speed out of nowhere. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I don't think it's the best option that they have for Sonic games. I like the idea that they kept this whole open area scheme every single inch closer to a Sunset Overdrive, another game. It's good for me. I get to run around these areas and have fun. The special abilities of this title are an absolute treat. They're never coming back, by the way. The game immediately tells you, yeah, no, these abilities aren't coming back. Maybe Chaos Control will, but who knows. I love how they give the player different ways to find paths and look at the stages going, oh hey, I could have used Chaos Control right here. Oh hey, there's some enemies right here destroying my rails. What if I use Chaos Control to stop them? A lot of the things are really around Chaos Control and not so much the other abilities, but for the important stuff, it's really good and interesting for you to learn that stuff. The morphs, they're a challenge to get into, but once you click with them, they're very fun and interesting to play with. But from just Shadow Generations, I haven't touched Sonic Generations. I only did it for like 2 minutes, just to see if it felt different, if the models were different. But just with Shadow Generations, I'm happy to see how the future of Sonic goes. I'm wondering what they'll do for the next few games with coming after Frontiers. But I've seen a couple complaints about Sonic Generations with the remaster that with like needless censorship, like hey Sonic, where's my island? But I did see that there are collectible Chow in each stage, or like, I think it's 3 per stage. So that's interesting to see something about Chow again. But yeah, I'll talk about that if I ever get around playing it. But till then, Shadow Generations is awesome. Go play it. I recommend it.